Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm Zeus Kerravala from ZK Research, and I'm here inside Splunk City, which is the expo hall for Splunk at its .conf 2025 event. I'm with Raj Chopra, who is SVP and Head of Products for Cisco Security.
That's right.
Raj, first time on with me, great to have you.
Absolutely.
I want to talk Splunk and Cisco Security. Before that, maybe just a quick bio on yourself. This is your first time on, so let the audience know who you are.
Sure. So Zeus, at Cisco, I am responsible for product and design for all of the Cisco security portfolio. And before this, I used to run product management for the flagship product at Proofpoint, which was email security. And then before that, I was part of the founding team of Netscope. We can go on.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the most salient ones.
Yeah, so you got a long history in security.
That's correct.
So this acquisition's been interesting because it's been a little over a year now. Splunk had a big security business. Cisco, of course, one of the market leaders in security as well. Start off by talking about how those two fit together and really create that 1 + 1 = 3 advantage for customers.
Absolutely. So there are two very important aspects when it comes to the synergy, if you will, between Splunk and Cisco. First, we had this premise that AI and now what we call agentic workflows is absolutely going to change every facet of operational workflows, including that of the SOC. And agents thrive on AI, and the heart of any successful AI component is the data. Operational data that is rich and diverse is what we were looking for. Not just narrow silos of data, but something that was the operational heartbeat of an organization. And there isn't a better asset than Splunk that was available. So that was an absolute no-brainer. The second part was that as we go from preventative security to more looking for defensive security, which is you don't know what odd looks like. You don't know what anomalous looks like. So while we have a very rich portfolio around prescriptive security, you should do this, you shouldn't do that, this is wrong, this is acceptable, this is allowed. I think Splunk has supercharged Cisco-wide abilities for us to be this broader canvas for all of the security operations, not just for preventative security, but for threat hunting, for orchestration once something is found out. So again, this is like peanut butter and jelly. It's very much
and well, I think you're right. Splunk has supercharged Cisco, but I think the other way has happened as well. When I talk to Splunk customers and Splunk executives, clearly the ability to have network telemetry, access to things like AppD, it has supercharged Splunk as well.
Absolutely. And so Cisco is an infrastructure leader. I wouldn't even call it just networking, but infrastructure leader in the market at large. And to that extent, where we can bring this very rich and broad set of telemetry into Splunk in very smart ways. So this is not about how do we bring in all the data and charge people for more and more data, but smart ways by which we can get both context and intelligence closer to where the data is being generated so we can develop better outcomes for our customers. Is absolutely at the heart of that interaction. I will say that Cisco is a big, huge breadth of data that we pull into Splunk, but the platform of Splunk, the platform of Cisco for that matter, is that to be providing value to a customer, not just a platform for our own products, but a platform for the customer, where they'll be able to bring and can bring telemetry from all the sources, including that of Cisco in a primary way. But this is a platform for the customer, not just for our products.
Yeah, and Raj, the fundamental premise of my research, ever since I've been an analyst, is that share gain opportunities happen in markets transition.
Yes.
And clearly, we've not seen a market transition like AI maybe since the internet.
Yeah.
Right? And this one's probably bigger. And I think when you look at the assets of Splunk and Cisco, it's this combination of security, observability, and network infrastructure, which I would say pre-AI, kind of a nice to have, right? But post-AI, certainly observability and security, two sides of the same coin.
Absolutely.
And then what networking does is it lets you understand, where a threat starts and what kind of activities people have. And so talk about that, when you think about that triangle of networking, security, observability, how those fit together and really allow, I use 1 + 1 = 3,
Yeah.
but perhaps it's more 10, right?
Yeah. It truly is. Back to your point about transitions, at least in my working career, and I've worked like 25 years, this is the first time that I'm observing where the use of a new trend, AI, is 100% bringing security as a first-class conversation at the get-go. Not something that is thought about after the fact, but anyone that is seriously adopting AI is thinking about the security construct in advance, right? And this is the right way of doing it. So finally, there is a market transition. We believe we are doing it the right way instead of security being an afterthought. And Cisco, as you can imagine, is leaned into that entire dynamic, in a very, very big way. So let me give you a couple of examples so that this makes it a little bit more real for the audience. You talked about observability and security are two sides of the same coin. I'll give you an example of eBPF, right? eBPF is this magical component that can be used to both enforce policy. We use an element called Tetragon that is part of Cilium. Mm-hmm. And we have another element within eBPF, again from Cilium, called Hubble, where that same eBPF construct also hydrates the observability platform. So the same component, the same stack that is sitting in the container network interface is both being used to enforce policy as well as generate telemetry that is provided for any kind of observability metrics. Same exact facet. And that is, again, 1 + 1 > 2, yes, whatever that ends up being. Another example of this is that I was sharing. A lot of the toil today, operational practices, right? A lot of the toil today exists when people change firewall rules is very, very tricky, right? Yeah. Because I ask people, when do you put a firewall rule? All hands go up, we use APIs, we use these tools, etc. I ask them the next question, when do you take out a firewall?
Never,
right? And people have usually this blank look on their face, like, what are you even talking about? And so when a rule has to be edited, the problem is that nobody knows what is going to be the effect of this change of the policy, right? It's akin to like playing a very tall Jenga where you're trying to pull a block out and it's like, oh, okay, this one didn't fall down. So, phew, we dodged a bullet.
It's safer just to leave the box.
That's right.
Yes.
And so now using elements like Thousand Eyes, the core part of observability, to generate synthetic traffic so the customer can test the effects of a policy change before they commit the policy change in the firewall, right? So think about it. You can preview the results of a policy change before you actually make the policy change. It is hugely beneficial to the customers where they have this data-driven test of what they're about to do rather than depend upon this person's memory and that person's tribal knowledge and these playbooks and whatsoever, where we can make it dramatically efficient. This is the 1 + 1 = 10, that people sort of, their minds glow when they see this in action. So these are practical examples, not just some esoteric, like one day something will happen, but practical ways that we built this in our offering for the benefit of the customer.
Yeah. Now, typically when you have acquisitions that are this big, right, and clearly this is the biggest in Cisco's history, a lot of times, how do I put it nicely? You can derail both companies, right? But this has been an incredibly smooth integration. In fact, both customer bases, partner bases seem very happy. And so from an engineering perspective, how are things aligned so it's not just two GMs reporting to the same person doing their own thing, right? But actually they're kept in lockstep with one another.
Right. So maybe a little bit of the backstory will help as to how we've sort of gone about this whole integration. So there was a pretty well thought out sort of diligence process by which we ascertained how these two companies would work together. There is a lot of things that are complementary. There are none of the things that are overlapping, right? The fact that Cisco is a trusted brand and Splunk is a trusted brand definitely helps, right? So So that's one aspect. Then the second thing is what we can build by combining these things are so amazing that everyone is focused on that prize, which is the new kind of value that we're going to unlock. And everyone has been like we're buzzing with excitement on the kinds of things that we can do together. And then it comes to the cultural fit as well. So it really helped that a lot of the primary folks in the leadership team had worked together well. I worked for Gary Steele. Mike Horn and I worked together. Tom Gillis was an advisory and a technical advisor on Mike's previous company. We've all sort of worked together. We know our working pattern. The trust is there, which helps with quicker decision making. And that is what you're seeing right now, that we all have a very strong mission that we completely believe in. There is trust in the team that helps us make these decisions quickly. And then the operating drumbeat. On the outside, we talk about Cisco and Splunk and Splunk and Cisco, but the lived reality for engineering, product engineering, is that it is literally one organization. We have the same processes, we have the same engineering milestones, we have the same review processes. It is one organization as we are building all of these capabilities together. So I couldn't be more thrilled about the way that we've gone about this thing. And it's not where it has come top down. This is one of those ways where it has built up bottoms up as well.
Yeah. Now, one of the themes here at the show has been agentic, and you brought this up before. And so when you think about SOC operations, we have a SIM and we have SOAR. They kind of work together, but not really.
Yeah.
You know, and so give me a vision for what the future of the SOC looks like and how agentic is going to really, I guess, move us from this model of being reactive. And I'll give you a good example. One of the data points from my research is I asked SOC managers, what % of alerts can you not get to?
Yeah.
And they said about a little over 50%, which is a shocking number.
Yep.
And it's not that they don't want to, it's just that there's, alert fatigue is a real thing.
Right.
And so, talk about that and how agentic's really going to change SOC operations here.
So I'll start with one of the gaps between what you said. So SIM is when you have thoughtful, clever people asking smart questions, right? That is a SIM. You go and ask those questions. SOAR is when you know what action to take. You have a playbook, you have something else going on, so on and so forth. That's the second part. In between these two is something called detections, where the system is providing you its insight and viewpoint as to something is wrong, something is amiss, something is not okay. And this is where I think rule sets that are built are very good at detecting dramatically different activity, right? So very sharp left-right turns, very different techniques that are used. Rules are very good at that. But subtle differences, AI is phenomenal in handling that, because as it builds that model, it can look for those subtle differences in very, very unique ways. This is why you heard the time series model that we've now built with Foundation AI, right?
Yeah.
And what that is doing is bringing those subtle nuances, which is the way AI is being used by the bad guys also, which is not dramatic changes in the attack pattern, but subtle changes so that they can sort of fly under the radar, so to speak. And AI used in a positive way is very, very good at it. So SIM, the ability to ask smart questions by clever people, how do we turbocharge that? We've done a ton of work with not only the data repositories that we talked about, federated search, federated analytics, and what we now came out with, which is the machine data, or I should say the data fabric. Then the other part about SOAR, which is using MCP servers to be able to orchestrate a much richer set of activities post an identification of an event. But smack dab in the middle is also detections, where the system is providing those insights. And in all those facets, agentic has a big role to play. AI plays a big role in the detections. Agentic is very good with SOAR, And then with SIM, the ability to ask those questions. What if you can ask those questions in normal English language rather than SPL,
Yeah.
right?
And so the role of the
democratizes
human then
use.
changes from somebody who's looking through log files and data as to somebody who can inquire and solve.
Who can acquire and solve, and whose primary job becomes to critique the work that has already been presented. So it's not like you are going and fetching and sitting and sort of going through the rabbit hole of each one of these particular events, but you are being presented a set of insights where you say, yeah, that's about right or not right, or I want more information, or I want to take this action, so on and so forth. So it becomes more of like you're a curator of those insights that are presented to you, rather than sitting and going through the drudgery of an event after an event after an event.
Yeah, it's interesting, and for you people watching this, I know there's a lot of concern about jobs and things like that, but it reminds me of a conversation I had with the doctor at Mass General when they started using AI to look at MRIs. At first they were dead set against it, did not want machines doing it. But then what they realized was their job had been 80% of the time looking at MRIs, only 20% of the time working with patients. Now it's flipped around.
That's right.
Right, and so it's freed up so much more time to do other things.
Absolutely, and I think where AI, especially like the ones that you mentioned, where AI is having already a significant impact is to empower the experts, if you will, right, to make those choices. And then the other one is for the novices to become suddenly productive. And I use suddenly in a very positive way, because there is no longer the long ramp up time for a new college graduate to handle level 1 issues and then go to level 2 and so on and so forth. They can be almost immediately productive. And people lean into that curiosity. That is how expertise is gained, when you are able to solve problems quickly. So I think AI is the start of, I think it's going to accelerate expertise. It's going to accelerate more experts in particular fields.
Well, it certainly democratizes the ability to
100%.
access.
That's better put.
Yeah, and so last question, and you mentioned the data fabric. Talk about what that is and the importance of that to security.
Yeah, so
and I thought it was a fascinating announcement, actually.
That's right. We're very, very happy, very proud of this. There are 4 facets to the entire data fabric. So the first part is what we talk about, which is distributed repositories, right? Which is wherever the data happens to be, keep it there, and we will use whatever the right technology mechanisms are for accessing that data. Second is the federated search and federated analytics. And just to keep it like conversational, federated search is where I am able to search, I give my request, the data doesn't move, it stays wherever it is, I get the results and I move on.
So much faster and so much cheaper.
Faster and so much cheap. Exactly. As Tom was saying, what is better than low cost ingestion? It's no ingestion, right? And federated analytics is, it says, hey, find all the failed logins for Raj for the last 6 months. So it says, I'm going to scoop all the login data from Raj for the last 6 months, bring it into Splunk episodically, and then I can do whatever the searching I need to do. That's federated analytics. So federated search, federated analytics. The third part is where we're taking the machine data, right, and saying the correlations that we've done and the schematizing that we've done of the data for the dashboard, etc., those are now memorialized and are available to hydrate, to build AI models that are fit for that customer themselves, so that you're modeling their environment, their behaviors, their observed patterns, and all of these correlations that we've done, instead of them being done and sort of rinsed out or saving them as saved searches, that correlated data and the schematized view is retained, is memorialized, and it's used to feed the data. And then the fourth element is all of the workflow, the integration that you saw of AI Canvas, and more capabilities that we're adding with Foundation AI and AI Toolkit, etc., which gives more of a natural feel for the SOC analysts, where they can pull in all of the relevant data far more rapidly. So that stack of 4 capabilities together, one building on top of the other, is what is data fabric, and I couldn't be more excited about the sorts of things.
The data implications of this combined company are pretty fascinating. I know a lot of people think about the operational side, but just the data that Cisco has now to power AI initiatives is something else. So.
We are exceptionally sort of both proud of the work that we've done, but also eager about the kinds of outcomes that we're going to unlock. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
We're going to see each other soon, and there is so much more that we're going to be doing.
Well, I'll see you at Partner Summit.
Likewise. Look forward to it.
So Cisco and Splunk, better together.
There you go.
Supercharging AI, transforming security, and really making everyone's life better. Is that about it?
Yeah, let's get a t-shirt for that.
Yeah, okay.
We're in the t-shirt.
All right. How about a couple of fezzes?
Let's do that.
Okay.
All right.
So on behalf of Raj Chopra from Cisco, Zeus Kerravala from ZK Research, and thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button and give us a like, and I'll see you next time on the next episode of ZKast. Thanks, Raj.